Okay, in part 2 of our 3-1 focus lesson here, we're going to continue talking about different ways we can represent decimals and show decimals and different ways to write them. And we're going to do something called a name collection box. And here's an example of a name collection box. And we're going to try and fill it and call this decimal 89 hundredths as many different things as we can to deepen our understanding of the size of this number. So the first thing I like to do is I always say that write it like you say it. So I say 89 hundredths because I end in the hundredths column. So that converts it right to a fraction for me, 89 hundredths. So I've already changed it into a fraction, and that's a nice starting point if you just write it like you say it. Another thing we talked about was, can we write this as a whole number multiplied by a decimal? So one thing we talked about was if I made this a whole number, made it 89, remember to make that 89, I had to move the decimal twice. Okay, that means I took it times 100. All right, now I already look here, I divide it by 100 to get it back. That's the same thing. Now remember, dividing by 100 is the same as multiplying by 1/100th, okay, by its reciprocal. So I can change it to a times problem and flip. Instead of dividing by 100, I multiply by 1/100th. And I can do that as a decimal as 1/100th times 89. Okay, if I do 100th 89 times, I get 89 of those hundredths. Right, so that's one way to look at it. I probably could have also written it like this, 89 times, can I call 1/100th? Call it that. That's still 1/100th. Okay, I multiply that, I get 89 of those hundredths, which ends up the same as this. So you could write it either way doing that. What about those expanded forms? Okay, expanded forms work great where I write the value of each column. So I could say this is 8/10, which is 0.8, 8/10. Plus, this is 9 hundredths, and we know the hundredths is 2 away from the decimal. So if I add those together, you'd get 89 hundredths. Okay, so same thing. The expanded form as decimals and doing their place value column, I could say, well, this is the 10th column. So I could say 0.1 or 1/10th column 8 times. So take that times 8. I'm going to put that in parentheses there so I know to keep the tenths column together. Okay, plus we're going to have 9 1/100ths here. So I could say it's the 100ths column times 9 because I have 9 of those 100ths. And if I add those together, those 9 100ths plus the 8/10ths would give me 89 hundredths. Guys, there are lots of ways we could keep going. Here, and we could give a lot more. For example, if I multiply this times 10 and this times 10, that would work. So I would, for example, put one down here. I could have 891 thousandths. And if I do that, all I did was take the top and the bottom times 10. Again, that's an equivalent fraction. And guys, I could go on and give an infinite number of answers. These are just several types of answers that would work for this. So again, our goal today is to understand how to write these in different ways and represent them and convert them to different forms so we have a lot better understanding of decimals in our number system.